Welcome to the Inspirational Businesswoman Show. Today, we're going to be featuring Tammeron, and she's going to be discussing how to plan your marketing calendar using secret astrology hacks. Welcome, everyone, to the Inspirational Businesswoman Show. I'm Virginia Parsons, your host, and it is my passion to provide you, the entrepreneur, with a goldmine of inspirational tips, strategies, and advice to help you grow your business from inspirational businesswomen in the know. And I'm very excited in a moment to introduce you to Tammeron. She's got some great information to help you brand grow and market your business. So we'll be getting started in just a moment. But before we do, I'm going to play the preview trailer. And as you watch the preview trailer, if you can think of someone who would also benefit from this information, go ahead and help spread the word in whatever way is easiest for you. We would greatly appreciate that because we think many entrepreneurial women could benefit from this show today. Also, today's show is sponsored by hangout-marketing.com, where you can receive a complimentary live stream marketing assessment. Now, why might you want to take that assessment? Well, first of all, it's only going to take you a few moments, and it helps you understand some of the things that you can do to improve your online presence, tips and strategies that are going to help you stand out and shine online. So I suggest that you take that, and you might even qualify for a complimentary shine session with me. So to go take advantage of that, all you need to do is text #success to 775-800-4179. Or if you're out of the United States, you can go to hangout-marketing.com. So our special guest is Tammeron, and she is a business astrologer and a spiritual alchemist. And she's going to be sharing some of her secret strategies for planning a profitable and effective business calendar. She says, as I mentioned earlier, it's a moon thing. So Tammeron will discuss secret astrology hacks that you can use to plan for a magical day to manifest abundance and prosperity around certain important dates. Now, here's the key. Here's the three main topics. What are the best moon cycle days to plan, promote, and launch your products? And then what part of the moon cycle to begin a new business concept? How to create a marketing template for the entire year is the third topic. Now, here's a little more info on Tammeron. She is an award-winning businesswoman, author, shamanic storyteller, and she loves empowering entrepreneurial women to build their business exponentially by using her secret astrology hacks. And as a spiritual alchemist, business astrologer, and look at this, an ex-private investigator, media host, and the star of the current weekly Your Time Matters podcast. Whew, that's a lot. She has guided hundreds of thousands of listeners for over 14 years to connect to their soul's voice and their own truth. Non-believers, her woo-woo magic works. Welcome, Tammeron. Come on in and say hi to our audience, won't you?
Oh, thank you for the lovely introduction, Virginia. It was a little bit of a lot there, but yeah, that's what happens when women have a lot of wisdom to share at this stage in their life.
I know. And the thing is that when you get to this point, because, I'm at that point too, I've been around the block a few years, done a lot of different things. It really expands your knowledge base and your way of relating to life. And so I love it. And I'm so thrilled to share all those wonderful accomplishments with everyone.
Oh,
Now,
thank you. It's an honor.
Listen, first, what I love to do, and I think this is really a great lead into the fact that you have experienced so many things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Was there what I would call a defining moment for you where you felt that this calling in the astrology realm was really where you had to spend your energy and your life's passion? Tell us a little bit about how this all came about.
Well, Virginia, that is a wonderful question. And to be honest, it all started about a year previous to the COVID onset, where I was starting to question why things kept reappearing in my life, almost like a pattern. It was like, okay, how can this be happening again? And it's the roller coaster of something showing up and then, the dip and whatever. And for some strange reason, I just started Googling on YouTube astrology and had no idea why I was studying, why I was even looking for that. Lo and behold, I found a Vedic astrologer. And Vedic astrology is a little bit more different than what we call Western astrology.
Mm-hmm.
But Vedic astrology is very specific and scientific, and it's ancient, like it derived in the Eastern cultures. Western astrology is more about your personality, how you can use it to understand yourself a little bit better. So I just got sucked right in. And then when COVID hit, all I kept hearing, my intuition was telling me, I have to go to school while we were home and study to become an astrologer. And it opened so many doors. And during the astrology school, I found out that there was a lot of things I knew already and couldn't explain how I knew it. And my teacher was like, I think you were an astrologer in another lifetime. Like when things just logically make sense and you don't know why, that's your calling. Right. So that was, an absolutely great question. And it just helped me to validate the patterns, because that's what astrology is. It's math. It's just about patterns, which we're going to talk about today, cycles, when things repeat, how to use them effectively to really enhance your life. And so I just dove right in, and I just, like you said, I love to pass down that knowledge.
Well, you're sharing a couple things I think are valuable to our viewers. And by the way, viewers, I really want to hear from you. If you hear something from Tammeron today that really sparks something inside you, I call it a gem. If you hear a gem from her, put it in the comment section. Let other people know this really inspired me, because that's what this show's about, inspirational businesswoman. But what I wanted to point out is that here we are in what was for the most recent past, one of the most challenging times for our population in general, not to mention how hard it was for small business owners and for the entrepreneurs that I work with. It was a very challenging time. And yet Tammeron chose to take this time all of a sudden, the space that was created for her because of the pandemic, and gave herself a chance to go inward and think about, what is this I really am inspired to do? And here she got the guidance to do astrology. And I think it's just so interesting that also it came so naturally to her, that to me is such a great indication that you're on the right path. If you feel like you're swimming upstream with things, maybe you need to reevaluate. But boy, if it flows like it did for you, what a great validation that you're where you're supposed to be. So I love hearing your story, and I think it's appropriate for lots of other people in the past that they might be working through and trying to get the guidance that they need. So thanks for sharing that.
Oh, thank you, Virginia. And it is true. And, as we go on, there's one message that people always ask me, and you've you've tapped into it. But people always say to me, if there's one thing that you could tell your younger self, or one thing you want people to know, and it's exactly what you just said, is to learn how to trust your intuition and use it, because intuition is not logical. It's not the logical mind. It's
Right.
that knowing, and you don't know how you know something. And we're in the new age. This is the age of Aquarius. And really, it's to learn how to use that as your navigation system, which is your higher guidance that has been pushed down in our past culture here in North America.
Mhm.
And we need to learn how to use it more. And astrology can, help you validate your intuitive hits as well.
I love it. And so that's why we're going to get into this. But that was a gem for me in and of itself. And that is that your intuition can be your navigation system. If you just open up to it, pay attention, and allow those messages, those tendencies, those urges, those nudges to move you in the right direction. So thanks for sharing that. All right, well, let's get into the first topic, the best moon cycle days to plan, promote, and launch your products and services. Can't wait to hear about this.
Well, this is exciting because I'm going to tell everybody right now in the beginning, I don't want you to get overwhelmed. You don't have to be an astrologer to understand what I'm talking about today, because these are the hacks, like these are the secrets that anybody can apply. So astrology is based on simple math, and it's based on 3 numbers, number 1, number 5, and number 10. So we're going to use that in this teaching today to share with you, how do you use the simple days of the month that are based on the moon. So a new moon is considered a number 1. Now, I know the day that we're recording this, so I went ahead and I did some pre-planning for everybody who's listening to this. If you are going to listen to this during the month of March, early March here in 2023, an example of the new moon for March is on Tuesday, March the 21st. So if you're wanting to plan something, to launch something in your business, this is the perfect day to launch it. It's not about when you're planning and creating your content and doing your research, blah, blah, blah. This is the day when you want to either put it on your events, right? Start promoting it and say, this is the day it's going to happen. So a new moon, consider a new moon a number 1. Now, say for some reason that doesn't work out, it's not good for your planning, there are 2 other options that I recommend you use. And you count 5 days after the new moon. So that day is going to be Sunday, March 26th, as an example. And the reason why you want to do that is because of the number 5. And in astrology, the number 5 represents something very specific. It represents royalty. It represents change. It represents castles. So just some very simple words. Yes, it is all about, like, think of the Leo the lion, like the royal star, right? He's the 5th sign in astrology. So Leo people are usually generally very strong, or they have a strong presence. Okay. That's based on the number 5. If you can't do it on that day, then I recommend you try and launch anything on day 10 days after that new moon. So for example, in March, that turns out to be Friday, March the 31st. Now, 10 in astrology represents that Capricorn energy. And business people tend to have, as an astrologer, if I'm looking at someone's astrology chart, the first thing it's going to jump out if I feel they're a strong entrepreneur is this Capricorn, anything to do with Capricorn energy. So Capricorn is number 10. And 10 in astrology represents leadership. It represents like a large number of people. It also represents things like corporations. So there's a difference between entrepreneurship and corporation. Now you can use this a little bit deeper. Do you see yourself as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, and you just want a small team of people? Then that's a different energy than, say, someone who's wanting to create a massive business where you want to employ hundreds of people and give people jobs. And that's not for everybody. Like, that's not for me.
Yeah, that's a great distinction that I think
Yeah.
for most of our audience, they're going to be wanting to be aware of that date would not necessarily be the best time.
No.
Even though you're saying it's the third best time, but it's for someone who's got maybe really massive ambitions.
Yeah, like network marketing. Like that
Mhm.
would be a perfect day for someone, you know, finds an amazing product or company that they feel they can lead people, you know, and it's going to take a few years to get there, but that's their vision, you know, that's a good energy that you want to pay attention to. So it's not necessarily it has to be this way, but it's kind of like what you said in the intro, like, you know, go with the river, flow with the river rather than trying to push upstream. So for example, I see other entrepreneurs that I follow and I see the days they launch something and I'm like, my intuition's telling me, you know, they could have done that on a better day because it is about the moon, you know, and we're kind of bouncing back between, you know, the first two categories that, you
Mhm.
know, we want to talk about today, but they're intertwined. So these are days that are based on the new moon, right? And it's number 1, number 5, and number 10. So again, it's not necessarily wrong, but if you can choose one of those days, it'll enhance the energy for more positive prosperity and abundance energy to flow with what it is that you're launching on your business. So your promotion days, you maybe want to start 7 days prior.
Okay, I wanted to get clarity on that because if it's a launch, people are just starting to hear about it. It's
Mm-hmm.
brand new, as opposed to maybe it is a service that you provide on an ongoing basis and you
Yeah.
just want to get renewed energy out there about it. Would that differentiate how you went about or the timing that you would use for launching? So if you go 10 days prior, what do you mean? Is that the first group of emails that go out? Is that when the cart opens? Is that when you do maybe a master class? So could you go into a little more detail with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it really is looking at if we want, let's just use March 24th as a good example for people.
Okay.
Right. So we're going to say on March 21st, let's say for me, my book goes on sale on Amazon. That's the day it's going to be on sale. But you're going to be talking about it and promoting the pre-sale offers beforehand. Now, I know people use different strategies in that. Some people do 5-day pre-sale marketing. Some people like 7, some people like 8, whatever. So you're going to have all your content and your materials ready to go. And that's the day it goes on sale. So if it's something you want to recur, it would be a really good idea to do a recurring sale either on a first day of a new moon, a 5th day after, or a 10th day. Like choose
Mhm.
those days as your days. And it could also be like, say, for example, you want to run a master class to promote your book sale, like 2 months down the road. You've already got the book, it's already on sale, but you're like, you know, I want to do an event that's going to promote more sales, give people more time to really understand the information. We'll choose your event day as a new moon day, 5 days after or 10 days after. So does that make sense?
That helps a lot because there's so many aspects to a launch.
Yeah.
And depending if you even add in your, affiliate marketers and when they would be best to, for instance, mail out, I would definitely be encouraging them to get at least that first email out on that new moon. And so,
Absolutely.
and yet if you're going to do a presentation or a master class that is before, let's clear this up a little bit more. If it's before the actual cart open, then that master class would be one of those things that would be prior to, because the cart's opening. But if the cart has already been opening, and let's say it's an evergreen product,
Yep.
or an evergreen service that could be, is ongoing available, then what you're saying is if you're going to do a master class to get renewed energy into and renewed awareness about the service, then you would schedule that on the new moon, the first the day of the new moon, or the 5th day after, or the 10th day after. So I got that right now?
Exactly. Yeah. You can use any of those 3 combinations to your advantage, right? So
Okay.
you got to think about how you want to use it, but it just enhances it. It's just like, like blowing magic, like, you're just adding that extra little bit of energy into what it is that you're putting out there. And when you're conscious of something, you're pulling in that energy connection to the moon. So here's another thing about the moon. In astrology, the moon represents our subconscious. It's our subconscious, our feelings. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs and business people, we're so busy all the time, we're not paying attention to how we're feeling, right? So we need to slow down and really pay attention to what the moon is telling us. Now, in one of my courses, my moon teachings is called Moonology. And it's a running joke where I say, the moon is calling. So when the moon is calling, pay attention to what the moon is trying to tell you. Okay. So in your marketing as well, when you're really conscious of what's happening with the moon, this is when the magic starts to roll in, because you can use the new freshness of anything for a new moon. But say there's something also happening in your business where you're like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm done with it. I'm moving on. Maybe you want to shut something down, or, say, okay, I'm putting this to rest. Like, I'm done teaching this. I'm ready to teach something else. You can also use the exact opposite energy of the full moon, because the full moon represents the letting go. It's a time to say it's done, it's over. So for an example, for me, I sold a business brick and mortar property. I didn't sell the business, but I sold the property where I was running a business. And I actually set an intention and wrote down a prayer and a ritual on the full moon, asking for the perfect buyer to show up. So I said my prayer, I burnt it, and I let it go. And guess what happened?
Of course.
Yeah.
You sold it. You found the perfect buyer.
I found the perfect buyer because I used the energy of the moon to help me. So even if it doesn't happen right away, when you're asking for that to be finished, do it around the full moon if it's a closing. But a lot of the focus today is like, the launching and the promoting and whatever, because that's the window of time. The moon goes around the earth every 28 days, which means from the new moon to the full moon, it is 14 days each. Right? Because the new moon is when there's no light in the sky. It's when the sun and the moon come together and there's no light. It's perfect time to see the stars. And the full moon is when the sun and the moon are exact opposite, and the sun is shining a light on the moon. So that's why the moon is so bright. And that's why people are super emotional, because it is connected to our subconscious, what I talked about earlier. So a lot of people tend to get very emotional, or anxiety really triggers, or you start worrying about things or whatever. And sometimes you just got to look up and go, okay, where's the moon? Like, these are just 2 very simple things that you need to pay attention, because some of that anxiety can actually go away in a few days if you're paying attention to where the moon is. Now, there's all kinds of free websites and apps you can use. I actually have an app on my phone that tells me where the moon is. And then I have like an astronomy app where I can actually, see a picture of the sky. But there's all kinds of wonderful free sites. So if this is new to you and, you don't have to become an astrologer to learn this, go and find some sites that can tell you exactly where the moon is and are you close to a full moon, and then use those calendars for your planning.
Oh, that sounds just so fun. I love adding this extra layer to being, an entrepreneur. First of all, as an entrepreneur, you're working outside the box of most people as far as careers are concerned. So now you're just adding another layer that helps support you in your entrepreneurial quest, whatever that might be. Let's move that on into the second topic, which we've sort of been overlaying, as you say, what part of the moon cycle to begin a new business concept. And the reason I'm really curious about this one is because of the word you used previously, which was intention.
Mhm.
This is around, I think, you can collaborate or corroborate or not. When you set an intention to be creative, to develop some new business concept, some new service, or some new program that you want to launch, I think the first step is to be really aligned with your intention around that. And then from there, it'll make it easier for the creativity process to unfold. So go into the details of that. Am I kind of on track with that?
Absolutely. And, it's true. It is about this intention. So we're going to use March because this is a wonderful month to actually do this. I'm just thinking now as we're talking,
Mm-hmm.
because March 21st is a new moon, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also the spring equinox. So in
Correct.
astrology, remember that the first astrological sign is Aries. And so
Yeah.
the first day of Aries is March 21st. Now, here's a little
Love
secret
it.
hack.
Secret hacks.
Secret
Attention,
hack.
secret hacks.
Exactly. There might be a gem for people. Aries represents entrepreneurship,
Ah,
right? So it's that number one. Remember I said number 10 is Capricorn. It's
Mhm.
about corporations or whatever. So this is why number one is really important for entrepreneurs to pay attention to the number one days, Aries. Like, say, for example, if someone looked up on the moon calendar, which in the bonus gift that I'm giving everybody today, I've given you some of the best online places where you can find some of this information. So it's going to be in your gift in the free masterclass.
fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can look, and there's also another little thing in there where if you were to look and you say to yourself, okay, new moon, 5 days after, 10 days after. But what if you just looked up on the calendar that day and you found out that the moon was actually sitting in the horoscope sign of Aries? Again, that's another energy of fresh, new, creating intention, because it gives you, some people like to say goals, but I've kind of been changing my languaging lately as to an outcome. So
Mhm.
when you are planning and you're saying, okay, March 21st, that's an equinox, it's Aries, it's all about entrepreneurship, doing something fresh and new. And if you have that and it, say, a month ahead of time or 2 weeks ahead of time, it gives you that, like you say, that creative energy to say, it's going to be done. It will be ready. Because if you're never creating goals or intentions, or, it's just, it'll happen whenever, when is that whenever going to happen?
Right.
Like, you got to give it that energy. And sometimes when you do that, that's again where the magic starts to come in, where, like we were talking about earlier, where all of a sudden you get this intuitive download and it's like, oh, now I know what I want to do, or, oh yeah, this makes sense, or whatever, because you're kind of connecting to yourself on a higher level. You're having a conversation with yourself. You're connecting what's happening with the stars. Because
Yeah.
I believe as an astrologer, like, in my little videos, I always say, what's happening in the astrological sky is happening to us here on Earth on a personal and an emotional level. And so when the moon represents what we're feeling on an emotional level, it's really wise to just pay attention to the moon. I can't say it in any other way, but you'll begin this relationship and you'll start to understand yourself a little bit better, because you might even start to notice that around a new moon, maybe you have more creative flow. Maybe around a full moon, you do get anxiety. Maybe you were born under a new moon. Maybe you were born closer to a full moon. All of these are keys to your personality, and you can embrace that part of you, right? Like, if it's a time when you're not usually that creative, then don't attempt to be creative.
Mhm.
Wait and plan your calendar a little bit and say, I'm usually more creative around this time of the month. And then you
Yeah,
plan
and
it in your
I don't think
calendar.
that most people probably pay attention to their creative cycles unless they've already had some previous astrology background, they probably don't pay attention to it in relationship to the moon cycles. But what I'm picking up from this with you is that in general, the principle would be that for anything that is newly inspired, anything that you want to do that is new for you, whether it is a new concept, a new course, a new service, or a new program offering that you're opening the sales page on that particular day, anything to do with new is going to be created along with the new moon. So
Absolutely.
new.
Yeah. And it is that simple.
Remember.
You're right. And that's what I want it to be. That's why I said this is just based on simple math, because that's what astrology is. It's just math and patterns and then understanding how to add and subtract. And that's all this is really about. And when you use that, it starts to become easy. And when you start doing it, sometimes you'll be like, oh, feels like a new moon energy. And then you go look and it is, like you really do get in touch with yourself a little bit more. And that's actually what astrology is. It's very empowering. And it can also be very, very healing because it can validate what's actually going on. So you don't think you're going crazy. It's like, oh, that does make sense.
And you're really talking about the moon cycles in this particular interview because it is probably having the most influence on us on a day-to-day, monthly basis, where of course I know all these other planetary movements also impact us. But to keep it simple, stay focused on the moon cycles to begin with, because that's going to be a really nice, simple guidance system for you without getting overly complicated. And then of course, see you if you want to get more complicated regarding your own horoscope.
Exactly. And that's when I look at someone's astrological birth chart. And, when I work with clients, there's 3 different ways. It's, pre-recorded classes that are slowly rolling out near the end of March for myself, and small group programs where I don't work with any more than 5 women together. And that's twice a month. And then I do the private. But as I look at clients' birth charts, it also gives me clues into your skills as an entrepreneur and some of your communication skills and how you stand up for yourself and, how you take action. Like that's your Venus and your Mars placements. And, it'll affect you in your money, in your business, and also your love in your relationships. It's the same placement. And so you need to understand that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, because knowing your strengths is power, and knowing your weaknesses, like in your intro, it's power too. That's what you might want to be delegating. So astrology isn't woo-woo. It's actually very scientific, and it can really be helpful for people. And here's another little tidbit about the moon. I would imagine a lot of people listening to your show are women. Right?
Of course.
Women's moon, think of women's moon cycles. Our moon cycle is every 28 days.
Right.
And there is like a method to our madness. When I know studying nutrition, I'll just touch on this, for, what I studied 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, that nutritionists used to teach us how to pay attention to what's happening in the moon. And they would get us to make sure we took the day off, the day before the full moon, the day of the full moon, and maybe the day after, because we are affected by that energy. And it's a very intense energy because, again, it's creating this intense emotional energy for us. So if you're planning your scheduling in your business, take some time off around the full moon so you can recharge and use that time to detox and shut down.
Great tip. Are you guys hearing this? That's a gem as well. And I love the permission to take some time off.
Yeah, we need permission.
To detox, clear your brain. We need permission, especially as entrepreneurs. All right. Well, we don't want to miss that third topic, how to create a marketing template for the entire year ahead. So go ahead and share that information with us.
Oh, thanks, Virginia. So this is where I say to people at the beginning, because I now do this at the beginning of the year, but you can start any time of the year. and I don't know if people can see this, but this is my little cheat sheet.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where I actually do a printout just on one sheet, and I keep this in my business market. Like I have a book, where I just do all my notes for my business planning and my ideas and everything. It's all in one book, but I keep this sheet loose because it's a printout for the whole year ahead. And the first thing I do in January is I circle the new moon.
I thought you
And
might be.
yeah, then I circle the 5 days after, and I do them in different colors. And then I circle the 10 days after. And I do this because it saves time and money. Some people use digital Google calendars. You can go in and put it in there, but use the information. So when, for example, you're deciding, okay, I want to launch something, whatever. Well, your calendar is already ready. It's telling you to create, so you can use that intention to go, okay, this is when I want to launch it. I've got 3 weeks. Can I do it? No. Okay, I'm going to launch it next month. Use it to, really help your planning. And then you can even use it as well to plan for the whole year, because in astrology, I want people to just think of the 4 seasons as well. So we have a spring, which is happening, in March. We have a summer, we have a fall, and we have a winter. Okay.
Right.
So those are the seasons of the year. But think about it as the seasons of your business.
Nice. Go ahead.
Right? So if you're wanting to pull your ideas together, rethink, come up with a new strategy, come up with a new book or a new concept, you might want to do that in a 3-month season. That's kind of like your winter. Okay. Because the winter is about when you go inside.
Mm-hmm.
You make some plans, you think about what you want to do. And if you're using your calendar as like a flow of energy of like spring, summers, when things blossom and open, and maybe you're super busy, so you want to plan your calendar where, you're doing more events, you're actually using what you created as a way to connect with more people and to talk about your programs, maybe be on podcasts, put yourself out there. And then you want to create like a 3-month window where it's fall, where it's a little bit more of reflection time. It's not time to finish anything, but then you move into your winter energy too of that 3 months again. And you go, okay, what am I going to change? What am I going to do? So you can use the whole month of the year as well to really think about how you want to create that overall flow in your business, rather than always pushing, because you're going to need time to slow down, and you're going to need time to, fill that creative juice. So if you plan accordingly and you start doing this over time, if you start implementing this in 3-4 years time, you're going to see the magic in your business, and you're going to see, your strengths, your up and downs, because most people just aren't paying attention, Virginia.
Okay, one more question on top of that. I love the idea of the seasons, and the season of spring, of course, the season of germination, the season of planting and germination, and of course, summer, the season of growth, and fall is the season of harvest, and then again, winter as a season of renewal. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to hear a little bit about all these concepts sort of layered into the perspective of the receiver of your services. Are there times when they might be more receptive, which could also impact a launch for a season, for instance?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's where I've taught this concept before, because it becomes more detailed. But the best way to do that, Virginia, is to use your own birthday as your energy in your business. So for example, I'm going to use me as a Capricorn because it's easy, but people can grasp it. And then you can use this as well in your business. I was born in January. So for me, I was born in the winter. So I use the winter as a time to take courses and classes like intensely, like work with other people to enhance my business. And come spring, guess what? I'm ready to go. I'm ready
Right.
for my book launch. I'm ready for, because I've done the work. So if you use your actual birthday to really help you understand your personal energy as an entrepreneur, you might just start to see some of those patterns, because in the summertime, for example, for me, so spring is when I'm going to launch. Summer is like high energy. Think of like bees buzzing up into the flowers. Like it's like, you say the giver and the receiver, like there's a lot of action happening, right? Because it's heat, it's energy, created by the sun. And so that might be a perfect time for you to actually plan to have more interaction with other people in your business. And then the fall is that time when, you might be doing something a little bit different in your business, where it's more like you say that reflective. You're still doing things with your clients, but it's not the promo and the push. Like it's a different energy. And then you use that, your winter energy based on your birth time, to take some time to reflect. Now, that could be the time where you have your evergreen products always going, right? Not your time for your launches. And as most entrepreneurs right now, a lot of people are writing books and telling their stories and marketing. What you can also do is use that type of energy where, you think about what's happening in the year ahead and you plan, when do you want to be talking to more of those people? Well, to me, logically, it would be a summer energy, right? High energy.
Yeah.
And then, you might want to teach your classes in the spring. You're moving around, you're talking to more people in the summer, whatever. So there's a rhythm to it. But if you, like we talked about earlier, if you use it to your advantage, you got to start thinking ahead, because this actually took me a couple of years to incorporate, but you can start this now. There's no like, oh, I don't know how to do this or whatever. Today is the day you're listening to this. Just apply one principle, one concept, and start doing that. So answer your question in reflection is, if you want to go deeper, then that's when you really got to pay attention to your own astrological birth chart, because it is that time of, like you say, when you put yourself out there and people are going to receive you, you might want that as your high energy. That time cycle is high energy, like a summer energy.
Well, this has been fantastic. So many powerful tips, secrets that you're revealing. For most of us, at least, there were secrets to be revealed. So we really appreciate it. But you have even more. You have a very special gift. What I'm going to do is bring that up, and then you can talk about it. But here's where you're going to get the gift, everyone. You're going to go to shinetips.com/Tammeron gift, and you can see it spelled out there. It's Tammeron, Tammeron gift. Tammeron, go ahead and tell them what this is all about and why they should take advantage of it.
Oh, thank you. So yes, I did this for all your listeners as a special gift. It is my master class to teach you everything we talked about today. So it is these 3 principles, and there's some bonus information in that class, which I am not going to share with you, because if you listen to that masterclass, it's near the end. And that is when there's another magical day every month that happens between 2 powerful planets. And one of the planets is the moon. But that is an extra day where, say, for example, someone says, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? Or you have an important meeting where you really want to launch something really important to you. There's a magical day every month, and it's different. Because it involves another planet. It's not every 28 days, but I'm not going to share any secrets. So everything we talked about today, Virginia, is in this masterclass. And so you can follow along. It's broken down very simply. And then at the end of it, there's an opportunity for people to purchase the cheat sheet information, where I'm going to give you the best websites to use. And I will give you the exact date of that bonus time every single month, so you don't have to go figure it out, because it might take you 2 or 3 months, and you'd kind of have to be an astrologer to figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're very, the cheat sheets are available for people, and it's a very low price, again, because I just want to help people so you can have this knowledge, and then you have the knowledge forever. So if you are a business coach, you might be able to use that information. I've had other business coaches attend my classes, and they use that to implement in their business, and then they're telling their clients too. So it's like spreading the wisdom of astrology. And it does get easier the more you do it. I just encourage people to start implementing some of these ancient practices, and it'll change the flow and the energy of how your business is running.
It is the next step for you, and you're going to learn one more magical day that you can work with in your chart. So go to shinetips.com/Tammeron gift. Now, Tammeron, before we go, and I so appreciate you really being so generous with your knowledge, do you have any final words of wisdom that you really want to have people take home with them today?
Absolutely. That's a good question, Virginia. So as we talked about in the beginning, I'll share one thing and then I'll say something else. Always use your intuition as women, even in your business, because it is a guidance system, kind of like what you tapped into as well. And we are in this new age of Aquarius. So as an astrologer, I just want to tell people, this is a time when we're going to be using more of our intuition and our psychic abilities to run our business. This is not old school days where, it's all about the logical mind and how much money are we making and that kind of stuff. It really is about trusting what we hear. And maybe you might be called, like I was, to do something different in your business. If something's not working, and you have this message or you keep hearing something, I'm going to encourage women to trust it in your business and start to apply some of these principles. And then the last thing I want to say is to really understand what the age of Aquarius is in astrology. And this is a time when there is very specific planets that have moved in the sky. And I don't want to get too much detail to confuse people, but it has a lot to do with some of the outer planets, such as Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto. Now, 2 of these planets are moving in the middle of March, okay? And we're going to start to see a huge shift in the world everywhere, because a lot of the old ways and old systems are coming down. And this is not negative. And this is what I want to stress. We're in a new age, a new era. So our life is going to be very different. We're moving into more of a grassroots type of a culture where it is about helping and supporting each other. And it's not about titles. It's not about who you are. It's not about what you own, how much money you have. It's about how can you have empathy and compassion for other people, and you will receive that in return.
Beautiful.
So structure your business around that. How can you help people?
Well, this is really how women excel anyway. This is their natural instinct for most females. They're nurturers, they're givers, they're supporters of one another. So you've really nailed it. Now we're moving into a time where it's just going to be enhanced. And on top of that, ladies, you are so much better at tuning into your intuitive self, and then trusting the guidance that you receive. So I think we've got, 3 things there. The nurturers, the tuning in, the trusting is really what you can take home as the big picture, and then implement some of these really powerful hacks that we got from Tammeron today. And I know you're going to see and feel and experience your business move to a whole nother level in 2023 and beyond. So Tammeron, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing all of your knowledge. And
thank you.
We'll look forward to perhaps having you back, because there's so much more that we could be discussing, but we've really stretched our time here today. So I want all of you to share what you felt was the most powerful information you got, and maybe some actions that you're going to take around what Tammeron has taught us today.
Thanks so much for watching today. Do you know someone who would be a great guest for our show? Or would you like to be a guest on the Inspirational Businesswoman show? Let's shine the spotlight on your expertise. We'll share your story while offering tips, strategies, and advice to our viewers. Expert interviews are a great way to build your reputation as the go-to expert. Go to shinetips.com/IBWS to apply today. Women are waiting for your message, and I can't wait to interview you.